Our first speaker this morning is a young woman. She's 22. She is at Brown University. She's a very accomplished young woman, so I'm going to read this. She's a workshop leader, an author, a speaker, a certified teen mediator. She leads mothering and daughtering workshops for mothers and their preteen and teen daughters with her mom, Eliza Reynolds. So these two are a duo and just so inspirational of what that mother and daughter relationship can look like. We'll be hearing more from Sil later, but they've written a book together called Mothering and Daughtering, Keeping the Bond Strong Through the Teen Years. Wouldn't that have been great when we were all teens? Would love to have had that book, but alas. She's also the co-founder and co-director with Josh Smith of Teen Rising, a workshop for teens that explores the values of authenticity, community, creative self-expression, and the balance of the masculine and the feminine in the individual. Can you believe that this work is being done at the teen level? Please welcome to the stage, Eliza Reynolds.
Thank you so much, Chantal. On behalf of all of us who you've brought together here, can we give a round of applause to this extraordinary emerging woman? Good morning, emerging women. How are we doing this morning? First full day. I am 22 years old, and I'm here to talk about the whole girl. The whole girl in us, because when does our inner teenager truly ever leave us? The whole girl in our daughter, or the daughter we may one day have, and the whole girl in the next generation of preteen, teenage, and young women who are looking to you, the whole women emerging here, as their role models, to show them what a life without perfectionism, a life with wholeness and with meaning looks like. My grandmother's generation began to diet after pregnancy. My mother's generation got out the diet books after puberty. And my generation got out the scales, the diet books, or in our case, the diet blogs, and the floor-length mirrors during the prepubescent years. As our bodies began to gain fat, that would be adipose tissue, that we needed to secrete estrogen, the miracle hormone that we need to give us our first period and to make our bones strong, we began to diet. Now, how many of us have ever had issues with food or body image? How many of us worry that we'll pass on our issues to the girls who look up to us? And what did Brené Brown say last night was the #1 shame trigger for women? Bodies, right. Our relationship to our bodies is a battleground for wholeness against the culture of perfectionism. My mom remembers my grandma teaching her how to diet, like it was a rite of passage, a sacred women's inheritance. Once you knew how to restrict, once you knew how to identify the trouble areas on your body, you were a woman. Congratulations. My mom never taught me how to diet. Bless her. She's a nurse practitioner and psychotherapist who works with women and girls with eating disorders. And as Chantal said, she will be presenting on this stage on Sunday morning on gaining value as we age. Instead, I learned that diets don't work. Can I have my slide, please? There we go. There's the statistic. 95% of all dieters will regain their lost weight in 1 to 5 years. Diets work in cycles. We starve, we cheat, we overeat. We tie the food and our bodies to our supposed self-will and to our notions of self-worth. More importantly, diets take our mind, our daily patterns, and our quality of life hostage. Once we begin to diet, we lose touch with our body's natural and essential hunger signals. And instead, follow a perfectionistic exterior standard. For example, healthy can be a form of dieting. All too often, diets are the gateway to eating disorders or disordered eating. While many people, and in rising numbers, suffer from eating disorders, disordered eating, such as skipping a meal or obsessing about food, affects most of us. The amount of time we spend negatively occupied with our bodies, food, weight, and muscle tone is a brain drain on the natural resources we have to give to the world. Imagine what we could do if we freed up just some of the brain power we spend negatively focused on our bodies, or focused on other people's bodies, or focused on not focusing on our bodies. I come from a cultural pocket in upstate New York where feminist self-love was assumed. And so I thought no one else was struggling. I thought that I should feel ashamed of struggling with body acceptance. Even when we're not actively thinking about our latest body project, it can shut down our potential. This strive for perfectionism that's so normal in our culture, it is unconscious. I've been teaching workshops for teenage girls since I was one, and that's for the past 7 years. This past spring, I published a book for teenage daughters and their mothers with my mom, Sil. Mothering and Daughtering is 2 books in one, a flip book with one half for mothers and a half flipped around, because it's that flip book that writes 2 directions, for teenage daughters, with one middle chapter on communication. Can you guess which way the middle chapter faces? My way. It has been my experience from my work with thousands of teenage girls that teenage girls today are finding themselves in a crisis of perfectionism. And all too often, this is played out in the body through eating disorders, compulsive exercise, and body obsession. This is partly a result of what Canadian psychologist and author Gordon Neufeld calls peer orientation, where preteens and teens have switched their primary attachment from their parents to their less reliable and less mature peers. A 15-year-old, however cool, however awesome, doesn't have the ability to have our back in the same way that an adult can. They too are at sea in the ebb and flow of the current teen high school culture. And I believe this teenage body crisis is a symptom of the despair of the soul in a culture of perfectionism, in a culture of never good enough, never beautiful enough, never productive enough. For me, soul is our felt experience of our most true self, our authentic self, or, in teen girl speak, when you're being real. Duh. I'm going to give you 3 snapshots from my own life. 1, I walk into the elementary school girls' bathroom. I'm in 8th grade, but we share a bathroom with some of the younger students. And there, up against the floor-length mirror, are 4 second-grade girls, shirts up, comparing their bellies side by side in the mirror. 2, in 9th grade, I made a new group of girls who teach me how to skip lunch. We walk around nonstop during lunch period, and we say we're not hungry when our mom gives us breakfast in the morning. I'm one of the cool girls. 3, my first year of college, the girl down the hall is obsessed with the tone in her thighs. She needs to run every day, sometimes twice, in order to keep the body anxiety at bay, in order to feel good, like that day was worth something, like she is worth something. This is the culture of perfectionism where the body is a battleground. These are the girls who are desperately in need of your emerging whole women selves. Perfection is defined as ideal, flawless, or faultless. It's the condition, state, or quality of being free or as free as possible, from all flaws or defects. It's the goal on the horizon. However, by our very understanding of what it means to be human, perfection is the ever-receding goal on the horizon. Perfection doesn't exist on this earth. Every time we get closer to what our definition of what perfect would look like or feel like, we change it. Perfectionism is the voice in our heads that takes one look at our outfit in the morning and says, "Oh gosh, you're wearing that? You're hopeless. Your arms are just always going to look flabby. Just think how carefree people are who don't have flabby arms." It's black or white thinking. It's always critical. Perfectionism is the idea that I'll be happy when I get that job, tone that butt, make more money, have good sex, move apartments, or when I become the perfect parent and the perfect partner and the perfect CEO all at once. When we live in perfectionism, we're all stuck in the waiting room, together, waiting for life, that real, exciting, happy thing to start. Finally, they'll let us out to where the successful, satisfied people are. Maybe they're frolicking around on a sunny hill somewhere. Courtney Martin, a brilliant journalist about 10 years older than me, and author of the book Perfect Girls, Starving Daughters, says that something is changing with the millennial generation of young women and teenage girls. We must not only be perfect as an accomplished, brilliant, beautiful, witty, but also appear as if we achieve all this perfection through an easygoing, fun-loving approach. We are the daughters of feminists who said, "You can be anything," and we heard, "You have to be everything." Does that sound familiar? And it isn't just happening to my generation of teenage girls. Ladies, this culture of perfection has gone viral. What I'm proposing today is a new model of growing up. And this isn't just for teenage girls, because let's not kid ourselves here, we're all always growing up. It's not like it just stops. What is emerging about? I am proposing the new model of wholeness. Whole is defined as a thing that is complete in itself. And yet, wholeness can be a challenge to put into concrete terms and bring into reality because it isn't a goal, it's a process. It's a consciousness, an awareness. Ladies, we're already whole. We can find it in a moment, this moment even, in this room. Wholeness is a lived experience of paradox, cycles, and soul. Paradox is when two apparently contradictory things exist at once: happiness and sadness, excitement and fear. It's when a girl's parents' marriage breaks up and she's hit in her stomach by grief and in her upper chest by relief that they're not in the same house anymore, not contracted to the same unhappy routines. It's when we allow ourselves to feel the complex reality of life instead of having to feel the right thing. That's wholeness. Cycles are when we hold the broader context within the immediate moment. It's when I look down at my belly and I realize it's getting softer and my body's gaining a little weight because it's fall and we're headed towards winter and I've got a smart body and it's headed towards cozy hibernation. And when summer comes around again, I know that I'm usually less hungry in humid upstate New York, and I usually lose some weight. That's one of my body's natural cycles. That's living with and trusting wholeness. That's tossing out the out of context goal of perfectionism. As I said before, I believe that the body is a battleground for perfectionism versus wholeness. It's a useful way, as well, for us to look at the tension between the two, because it's concrete rather than abstract. In fact, we all remember to bring our bodies with us today. There it is. Breathing, when we weren't paying attention. Pumping blood. Digesting that breakfast that's giving us the energy to focus right now. Oh, hey, thighs. How you doing? Thank you for getting me up onto this stage, among other things this morning. Not only are our bodies a concrete way of relating to self, but as women, we have learned that our body is the primary way that we have an identity in this world. For example, what do my hips say about me? Are they sexy and dangerous? Are they safe and reproductive? They have meant different things and in different times to different people. The thing is, it's never just a body, never just this miraculous knitting together of organs and muscles and nerves and bones. In a culture of perfectionism, we break the body down into parts, the parts that we like and the ones that we don't like, the parts that are desirable and the parts that are ugly or bad, or that betray us by not looking like they're supposed to. We become focused on the improvement of each. I gave myself the assignment of picking out the first few magazine covers, the newsstand at the Denver airport, and we got a few of these gems. Torch more fat. That sounds painful. Flat abs, great butt. Finally, lose that weight. Shape, drop 2 sizes in just 4 weeks, and maybe you'll get mind-blowing sex as a result. Otherwise, though, I don't think the sex is going to be so mind-blowing, so you better get used to that. And not to leave our men out, I like that. Knock out belly fat. Knock it out. Just knock out the whole belly. It's a little bit scary how much we take these metaphors to be quite literal. In the reality of wholeness, we see our body as a whole entity. In fact, as a self-regulating miracle. For example, the way our smart immune system gives us a fever when we have an infection. And so we have to challenge ourselves to remember, whether it's Post-its on a desk, an alarm on a cell phone, a daily gratitude practice, where we actually let in how awesome it is to be able to hike a mountain and look down, to hug a person we love, or to savor and digest a meal. In the culture of perfectionism, we have the illusion of individual control over our body's weight and shape through our diet and exercise choices. We come to believe that if I only worked hard enough, I could and should look like that. And oh gosh, is that a belief that the $60 billion diet and fitness industry is banking on? That we will stay believing that myth. In the reality of wholeness, we get that we all have our own biological set point, a natural and healthy range of weight and shape that is predetermined by our genetics. I can find that healthy balance between food intake and activity for my body, but other than that, it's not up to me. I've already inherited my body's healthy range of weight and shape, my set point. In closing, I want to tell you a story. A good friend of mine, let's call her Lucy, has a pretty negative relationship to her body, and she'd be the first to say so. Her mom is always telling her how beautiful she looks because she could never be happy about her body because she's young and perfect in every way. And yet, her mom is always on a new diet, critiquing her own body, calling herself fat and ugly. Lucy sees the double standard. She explains to me, how can she be ugly and I be beautiful? I am my mom. My thighs will be her thighs. So why am I telling you all of this? First, because you are emerging women. And second, because you can make a difference in the lives of preteen teenage girls and young women today. The research shows that the one single most important thing that stands between a girl and negative body image. Between a girl and perfectionism, between a girl and an eating disorder, is a woman mentor. A mother, an auntie, a teacher, a role model. Emerging girls need emerging whole women. We urgently need you. We are watching, though you may not always see it behind the sass and sarcasm of our exterior. When you walk into the room and take up space, you teach ourselves a lesson in whole womanhood. You emerging women, are who we, the teenage girls, have been waiting for. Challenge perfectionism. Emerge whole. And reach down and help a teenage girl.